Have you ever wondered what really guides a research project, before a single word is even written? Well, it turns out every single study has this kind of hidden blueprint, a philosophical worldview that shapes every question, every method, and every conclusion. Today, we're going to unlock that blueprint.
It really all boils down to this one question. Is your research about finding some objective truth that's already out there, or is it about creating truth through our own interpretations? The answer, it turns out, depends entirely on your paradigm, your fundamental way of seeing the world. And that choice, well, it shapes absolutely everything that comes next.
So the first pillar of any paradigm is something called ontology. Now, put simply, this is the what of your research. It's your core belief about the nature of reality itself. Are you studying a world of solid, independent facts, just sitting there waiting to be discovered? Or is reality maybe a bit more fluid, something shaped by our culture, our language, and our social interactions?
And right alongside that, you have epistemology, the second pillar. So if ontology is the what, epistemology is the how. It's all about our theory of knowledge. How do we actually know what we claim to know? Is knowledge something we get by being a totally detached, neutral observer, or is it something we actively create through our own engagement with the world? Together, these two, ontology and epistemology, they form the very DNA of any research project.
All right, first up is the classic model, the one that really came out of the natural sciences, positivism. For a very long time, this was kind of the gold standard, and honestly, it's the framework that all the others were created to challenge.
The core belief of positivism is pretty straightforward. There's a single, objective world out there. It's stable, it's measurable, and it doesn't just change because we happen to be looking at it. So the researcher's job is to discover the universal laws that govern this reality, kind of like a physicist discovering the law of gravity.
And this table here, it breaks down that worldview perfectly. The ontology, there's one single, objective reality. And the epistemology flows right from that. You find knowledge through systematic observation and hard empirical data. The researcher's role is to remain completely neutral and detached from it all.
So, what does this actually look like when you're doing research? Well, a positivist researcher would ask a question just like this one. The key phrase here is measurable impact. See, they're hunting for a clear causal relationship, a pattern that you can quantify and, ideally, apply universally to everyone.
But let's be honest, you can't measure everything, right? I mean, how do you quantify a culture or a feeling or a human experience? This very limitation of positivism led directly to the rise of a whole new paradigm, especially in the social sciences. It's called interpretivism, and it's built on the idea that, well, the human world just works differently.
Interpretivism totally flips the script. In this view, reality isn't some fixed object out there to be measured. It's socially constructed by all of us. Knowledge isn't just discovered. It's co-created between the researcher and the people they're studying, shaped by language, culture, and context. This slide shows that shift perfectly. The ontology is that there are multiple subjective realities. Your reality might not be the same as mine. And the epistemology? Knowledge comes from interpreting those realities, from understanding the nuanced meanings that people create. In this paradigm, subjectivity isn't some bias you need to eliminate. It's the entire point of the research.
So an interpretivist looking at the very same topic asks a completely different question. Notice the keywords now are describe and experience. The goal isn't to find some universal law, but to get a deep, rich, contextual understanding of what online community means to these specific students in their own words.
Now, our third paradigm kind of builds on this idea. Critical theorists would agree that reality is constructed, but they add one crucial layer: power. They argue that it's just not enough to understand how meaning is made. We have to interrogate the power structures that shape that meaning in the first place.
For critical theorists, knowledge is fundamentally political. They're always asking, who benefits from this particular version of the truth? Whose voices are being centered? And maybe more importantly, whose voices are being silenced? For them, research is never a neutral act of discovery. It's an active intervention in a world that's defined by power imbalances.
As you can see here, the ontology from this view is that reality itself is shaped by historical power struggles, by class, by race, by gender. The epistemology, then, isn't just about understanding the world, but about actively challenging the injustices within it. The goal is emancipation. It's about change.
So, a critical researcher asks a question that's specifically designed to expose those power dynamics.
It's not just about what's visible, it's about what's missing. The focus is on questioning the very structure of our systems to find the exclusions and the silences that help maintain the status quo.
This approach gives us some really powerful analytical tools. Frameworks like feminism, Marxism, critical race theory, and postcolonialism, they provide these specific lenses to analyze different systems of power, whether that's based on gender, class, race, or the legacies of empire. They basically allow researchers to read reality against the grain.
And this brings us to the core insight of critical theory. Research is never just an academic exercise. It has the power to either reinforce existing power structures or to challenge them. It is always, fundamentally, a political and an ethical act. Okay, so we've covered the three major worldviews. Let's put them side by side now, just to make the differences crystal clear. This table really lays it all out. When it comes to objectivity, positivism strives for it. Interpretivism accepts that it's impossible, and critical theory actively rejects it as a goal. And when it comes to power, positivism pretty much ignores it. Interpretivism sees it as part of the context, and for critical paradigms, well, power is the entire point of the investigation.
So, after exploring all these different blueprints, the final step is to turn the lens on yourself. Your own beliefs about reality and knowledge will inevitably shape the kind of researcher you become.
Seriously, think about it. Does that idea of the neutral, detached scientist appeal to you? Or do you believe that to truly understand something, you have to be an engaged participant? Your answer probably places you somewhere on the spectrum we've just been talking about.
And what about your ultimate goal? Are you trying to explain, like a positivist? Or to understand, like an interpretivist? Or is your goal to change the world, like a critical theorist?
And this all brings us to one final crucial point. Once we accept that research isn't neutral, that it has real-world consequences, it stops being just a technical exercise and becomes an ethical one. So the question isn't just what you'll study, but why. If every research project is a blueprint for a small piece of the world, what will yours build?